and welcome. Thank you all for joining me today. My name is Darcia Houston, better known as MajorMelanin. I am your favorite farmer, and I'm here with the Garden Club today with the Mark Cuban Recreation Hero Center. And we are going to talk about collard greens again because that's what we did last week. But we are going to talk about companion planting with collard greens. And when we were talking with various children, when we were able to meet in person, we discussed, if you all can remember, that we have plants that have friends, right? And it's no different than having a companion or a person that you would like to go swimming with, or that you would like to exchange knowledge with, or even a friend or a person that you like to do your homework with. There's also people that you like to eat with, you like to go out to eat with, right? So plants, they're not too different. They really have certain other plants that they love to be around, and the reason they like to be around them is because they get smarter, they get stronger, they're able to exchange and communicate. They don't have to be lonely. So the collard green, since we planted that last week, I definitely wanted to show you our progress and where we were. We planted in 3 different mediums, which means we planted 3 different ways, right? Cool. So let me put our water down. As you can see, the collard greens that we planted last week have germinated. They're strong, they're tall, they're erect, they're green. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10, and Miss Darcia totally thought that I put 3 to 5 seeds in, but you can see that I put 10 seeds in here, and they all germinated. We might have a few stragglers if there were some more seeds, not to worry. Now, we did another experiment with this particular pot. It did not germinate at all. Both of these pots, we used the Coco Coir palette, right? Remember that? But one of the pots, which was this one, this pellet sat in the water and it expanded. Do you all remember that? It grew because Coco Coir grows when you put it in water, and it absorbs water. It helps with water retention, and it helps with the transfer of the nutrients. So this pellet is sitting in the soil, it gets wet, it's able to bring the nutrients and retain water around the seed. So that's what makes it important. But this one, we had already soaked the Coco Coir palette and put it in here. It didn't do too well. Not to say that it's not gonna germinate, it just didn't germinate very well. On this one, we just stuck it in the soil, put the seeds on top, put a little soil in it, and this is what we came up with, right? We also planted one other way. Do you all remember? We planted in a recycled material called an egg crate. So let's pull that egg crate out and let's talk about this. Now, this same material you can buy at Dollar Tree, Walmart, Target, online, Amazon for growing. You know, they'll have this egg cart material in various different starter cups. It's fabulous. Just because it didn't germinate, it doesn't mean that it's not a great process. I know that it's a good process. It's just that Miss Darcia didn't have a lot of help watering this week. My water tech, which is my son, he builds the raised beds. He does a lot of the watering. He had a basketball tournament out of town, so I didn't have extra help with watering. In this material, it takes a lot of water. It will dehydrate a lot faster. Dehydrate, meaning it's going to get a lot drier, a lot faster. Dehydration is not a good thing for living animals or people or plants. Dehydration is not good for you as well. You are supposed to be ingesting water. And when your body gets brittle and low, it's time to get more water in your body. The same with the plant. Now the plant is going to be stressed out a little because it didn't have its consistent amount of water. I am going to water. We are going to stay updated. I am going to put it back in the window. I do believe it will germinate. However, it's just got to have the right type of environment to be successful. Almost like you all. When you go to school, you have your homework, you want the right kind of environment. You want quiet. You need to be able to concentrate. And the plant needs a good environment so that it can grow and learn and expand as well. And communicate with its companions, as we're going to continue to talk about. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and water this situation. And also, you have to be careful when you water these types of plants. I have a tile floor, so I can just go back and mop up. As you can see, it's like running down the side. But the goal is to definitely saturate. And I have the egg crate at the bottom. I have that situated. I have the top and the bottom separated, but they're together, so that this could act as a tray and hold some of that water that will leak out. But we have it nice and moist now, and I'm going to check back on it here shortly because the egg crate is going to absorb a lot of the water too. Put that over here. Alrighty, so back to the collard greens. All of the collard greens were started in here. You see that they germinated, which means that they've sprouted. But when they actually sprout, what are we going to do? When they get a little stronger, what am I going to do? I'm going to bump up. I'm going to make sure that each collard green, all 10 of these, will have their own cell to live in so that they can have their own nutrients and they won't fight. See, these seeds right here, they're going to start fighting for nutrients here shortly. So we will be transplanting these plants into individual pots. So eventually, once they get big, you all will be farmers too, because you're going to take the actual plant to the Mark Cuban Hero Recreation Center, put them in the garden, and they will grow. We will be able to have a farmer's market here shortly. So this is going to be very exciting. But when we talk about companions and friends for the collard green, as it gets older, it's going to need some friends. Do you know what friend is going to be good for the collard green? I mean, collard green has a lot of friends. They're really popular. If you didn't know, they were originated in the Mediterranean, Asian area. And then they are so hardy, they were able to be moved around all throughout every continent as we speak, can have some form of collard green. But its one and only friend that I would like to see it grow with is thyme. Now, there's many different varieties of thyme. I'm going to show you some examples, but we're going to see about using this thyme. I'm going to send it to you, just like you got the collard green seeds and the packet. We're going to put you a packet together for thyme, which is a companion, a friend of the collard green. But thyme has many different friends, let me tell you. Now, last week, I don't know if you remember, there was a jar sitting on my desk, and it had a bunch of onions in it that I purchased from the grocery store, and I'm replanting them. So they've all sprouted, as you can see. I even have some celery. There's some celery right here. But all of this in here is thyme. And onions like thyme too. So onions are its own companion, and they are gonna beat up other pests. They don't like certain bugs to come in. They are going to help the plant be healthy. That is the same thing that the thyme is going to do. Now, the thyme that's in here is an amazing situation because this is lemon thyme. So it's going to taste and smell like lemon. Remember our lemongrass? So these are two things you can probably put together in some lemonade. However, this thyme is going to have a different flavor, but they're both called thyme. It's just lemon thyme, and this one is an English thyme. And one of the things that we don't like about growing collard greens. There's always some sort of bug that is there to ruin the plant. We don't want the plant to be ruined. We want the collard green to grow so that mom, dad, grandma, somebody can cook the collard greens so we can get the nutrients. Did you know eating collard greens is just equivalent to putting sunscreen on? It protects your skin from the inside after you eat it. That is amazing, right? Well, the same thing when the thyme is planted with the collard green. It comes through and it's like, you better back up. You know, it's ready to fight. It doesn't want disease to come in and ruin the plant. It also brings about a wonderful plant, a wonderful pest, a wonderful insect that we might not think is cool, right? We might not want this thing. When we see it, we run from it, but it is very important for the collard green and the collard green's family. Did you know collard green have family members? They got cousins, they got brothers and sisters. Well, a family member of the collard green is cabbage. So if they are family members, that means you probably can cook them together. If you plant them together, you might increase the amount of cabbage worms that might come to your garden or your farm. So having things like thyme in the ground, cabbage worms don't like thyme, so they don't want to come over to your house. They don't want to come play with the collard green or the cabbage or the kale, because kale is another family member of collards, right? So if you plant things like thyme, oregano, onions, and things of that nature, they help. They're called herbs, but they help back up the disease that comes to the plants, because they don't play that. They don't like that, right? Cool. So the wasp, that is a whole nother pest. It can be dangerous if they build nests, but the plants really need pollinators, and they need animals that are insects that are going to help them maintain their health. That is companion planting at its finest. In addition to that, we have the time how we're going to plant is I'm going to use a different type of pot. Actually, it's not a pot. When we planted the collards, we used a little cylinder cell. We also used something that was more square or rectangular. But now I'm going to use a kitchen bowl. And the reason I'm going to use this bowl today to plant our thyme, like I told you, my water tech, my son, he's not available right as we speak consistently to water for me. So I am wanting something that's going to hold a little more moisture. It doesn't have a hole at the bottom. It's okay if it did. I would just have to water a little more frequently to get the seed started. I can't, because I have to teach, I have to farm, I have deliveries to make. Miss Darcia is a real live farmer, agriculturist, so I can't sit and water all the time. So I need this bowl to make sure it can hold some moisture so that these seeds can germinate. Once they germinate, I am going to move them out. In addition to moving out the collards, we're gonna put them together and let them grow. But until then, I've got to have something that's gonna hold a little water at the bottom, and the water's not gonna leave. So I'm going to take some of my pellets, my cocoa coir pellets first. I'm going to stick them in the soil that I've used. This is filthy rich soil that I've made. You all will be receiving some of this soil. And I'm gonna put 3 in here because that seems to be what's going to fit. There we go. I'm going to pour some seeds in my hand. You can see that they are so tiny. So this looks like this could be 80 seeds right now. I don't want to plant all 80. I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to pinch. I probably have a good 20 something on here. And I'm just gonna roll my fingers around the pot so that the seeds fall kind of evenly around. I don't just want to plop them in one spot. I feel some of them are my fingernails, so I'm getting those out. And what's left in my hand, I will pour them back into the sleeve and send some out to you. So let's grab this water so you can see me water. I also let my water sit overnight before I actually water the next day. Helping your water sit removes a lot of the additives that they put into our water. Water is also a product with a lot of ingredients. So some of those ingredients that are harmful will dissipate. They'll go away. They'll evaporate into the air, and then that gives the plants a lot less harsher water to drink. You can also use distilled water. You can use baby water. You can use tap water, but you just want to let it sit for a little while. If you're, watering your fields, then of course you're not gonna let the water. How are you gonna let the water sit? You gotta, just like plant and water. But I do want this to be a lot moist. It's going to be in the window. It's not really hot, but what it is, I have the heat on. So constant ventilation is also going to dry out my plants. So I have to keep up and make sure I put my finger in a time or two. And I don't really feel like I have enough water at the bottom yet. I'm trying to let it soak up because I do have those pellets in here as well. So with that said, I'm going to put this bowl in the window and we will be in touch with how fast it germinates, if it germinates, and when it germinates. I will keep you up to date. I'm gonna put it up here really high in the window. There we go. Put that around there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for watching. It's Miss Darcia, Major Melanin, with the Mark Cuban Hero Recreation Center Garden Club. Have a good night. Bye-bye.